Skill 2 and a very good evening, everyone. Welcome back once again to MSBS Weekly Guided Meditation by Phra Goh. Today is the 26th of September 2023. I'd like to extend a great welcome to all new viewers to this channel. We are very grateful to have with us CK Adhibalo, popularly known as Phra Goh, to conduct this weekly session since 2020. Bhante had his bhikkhu ordination into the Theravada tradition of Thai Dhammic sect at St. Paul's Monastery, Johor, Malaysia in 2008. Today we are starting on a new subject called gratitude. After this, Bhante will be leading the homage to Buddha and taking a 5 precepts for Buddhists. Now let's compose our minds, power palm together and welcome Bhante. With you, Bhante.
Okay, thank you, Terence. So we begin by paying respects to the Buddha by giving 3 bows. First bow, second bow, third bow. Then the homage chanting. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. 3 refuges. Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Dhammaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Sanghaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Dutiyampi buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Dutiyampi dhammaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Dutiyampi sanghaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Tatiyampi buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Tatiyampi dhammaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Tatiyampi sanghaṃ saranang gacchāmi. And the 5 precepts. Pāṇātipada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi. Adinādāna veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi. Kāmesu micchācāra veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi. Musāvāda veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi. Surameraya majjapamadatthāna veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, so good evening to everyone. So today is this new topic on gratitude suggested by Roy, who is not here tonight. Also coincidentally, this month happened to be this World Gratitude Month. Actually, last week there's this World Gratitude Day, because it falls within this month. I think it's a great chance to cover this topic. So he asked a very relevant question about gratitude. what are the Buddhist teachings on gratitude. So of course I just give the common suttas, some of the excerpts of common suttas, not all the entire Tipitaka of course. The entire Tipitaka will have lots and lots of teachings of gratitude, but this is the sort of the main few. Okay, so the first one, we talk about the rarity and also the importance of gratitude. It's such an important but also a rare quality. Right, so the Buddha taught this. Monks, these two people are hard to find in the world. Which two? The one who is first to do a kindness, second, and the one who is grateful for kindness done and feels obligated to repay it. These two are hard to find in the world. Right, so there's this Dulabha Sutta. Yeah, and although we may think that people are generous, they are kind, but maybe a small fraction. Probably there are lots of people out there who is not into charity at all. So even though charity is such a common kind of or the basic foundation in our field of merit, in Buddhism we have the merit formula. First we practice generosity, then the harder thing to practice is your precepts, then the even harder thing to practice is mental cultivation. So even such a basic thing to do a kindness is already, according to the Buddha, very few. Hard to find. Hard to find. So most people, for whatever reason, can be struggling, or in this sort of human degeneration age, maybe they don't wish to do any good, right? With all the, we call it distractions and entertainment, that's not the right kind of, not right frame of mind to want to do good. The mind wants to enjoy and enjoy the senses. And the other extreme would be if a person is in poverty, they'll be thinking about self-survival. A bit hard for them to practice good also. So these are the two kind of extremes. Okay, next. Okay, so this one is on repaying parents. Repaying parents. So I'm going to just read out. Monks, I will teach you the level of a person of no integrity and the level of person of integrity. Listen and pay close attention. I will speak. As you say, Lord, the monks responded. The Blessed One said, now, what is the level of a person of no integrity? So this is a person of no gratitude. Okay, next. A person of no integrity is ungrateful and unthankful. This ingratitude, this lack of thankfulness, is advocated by rude people. It is entirely on the level of people of no integrity. A person of integrity is grateful and thankful. This gratitude, this thankfulness is advocated by civil people. It is entirely on the level of people of integrity. So it talks about the two kinds of people. So the people who is without integrity, they are ungrateful, they don't thank you. The people who are civil, who have integrity, they are grateful and thankful. So these are the two groups of people. Next. Okay, so this one talks about repaying parents. So how to truly repay one's parents. Who have read the Mahayana version before? Repaying parents. Never. Okay, so this is the Theravada version. I think the Mahayana version is an extension. Okay, so I'll just read to you this. I tell you, monks, these are two people who are not easy to repay. Which two? Your mother and father. even if you were to carry your mother on one shoulder and your father on the other shoulder for 100 years, still not enough to repay them. So this it may sound a bit exaggerating, but the Buddha is trying to make a point. And if they're on your shoulders and were to look after them by anointing, massaging, bathing and rubbing their limbs, right? So if they're on your shoulders and you still try to take care of them, still not enough. And they were to defecate and urinate right there on your shoulders, still not enough. You would not in that way pay or repay your parents. So this is talking about physically taking care of them, right? Their health, their well-being, still not enough for 100 years. Still not enough to repay your parents. But is it an obligation to look after their health and well-being? Yes, it's an obligation. But is it enough to repay your parents? No, not enough. Right? So the next one. So the Buddha gives another example. This is another sutta actually. If you were to establish your mother and father in absolute sovereignty over this great earth, abounding in the 7 treasures, you will not in that way pay or repay your parents. Right. So earlier on, the previous slide talks about physical health, taking care of their well-being, and this particular slide talks about material offering. So you provide your parents with material offering, all the treasures, you give them the entire large plot of land, the entire earth even, still not enough. Still not enough to repay one's parents. Right? Why is that? Mother and father do much for their children. They care for them, they nourish them, they introduce them to this world. Okay, so you want to know the answer, how to repay your parents. I think some of you have seen this before. Who is the first time seeing this? A few people. Okay, so no worries. Next slide. Okay, so this is the spiritual aspect. Repaying one's parents karmically, spiritually, to make sure they are reborn at least in the higher realms. Right, no point you give them all the physical comfort, then they go to lower realm, then they suffer there. So it's like not good enough. Yeah? So these are the 4 things. So the first one, but anyone who arouses his unbelieving mother and father, settles and establishes them in conviction. So this is the first one. So if the parents, could be the mother or the father or both, doesn't have faith in spirituality, in goodness, in purifying oneself, if they do not have this kind of faith in spirituality and all, total materialism, right? Total promotion of greed, sensual pleasures, that's what they believe in, then you haven't repaid until you make them have faith, make them believe in spiritual development. So this is one way of repaying your parents. So there's a first step, and I think the first step could be good enough for most people. So that if, let's say, one's parent or parents are, let's say, too materialistic, too sensual, and indulge in sensual pleasures, and you kind of inspire them to sort of look into the spiritual department, cultivate themselves, and they get interested, then that's a good turnover. That's a good start, right? So in that way, you're helping them to plant the karmic seed. So that's the first step. Okay, then second, rouses one's unvirtuous mother and father, settles and establishes them in virtue. So the second one is on precepts, on morality. Things like, let's say, if the parents love to gamble or like to drink alcohol, or the vices or the bad habits, or maybe like to go fishing, or do certain things which are sort of harmful for oneself or other beings, then you kind of slowly inspire or slowly change them for the better, then that's the next step. And that's the next step. So the first one is the faith, and second is on action, on behavior. Right? So this is on virtue. And the third one. Okay, so the virtue is on preventing doing bad things. Then there's a proactive step. So that's the third one. Rouses his stingy mother and father, settles and establishes them in generosity. So if one's parents are selfish, are stingy, right? They don't want to do charity, they don't want to volunteer, they don't want to practice any form of generosity, and you inspire them. Yeah, you encourage them to do some charity work, some volunteer work, and they start to do some of these good acts, and that way you transform the mind. Yeah, they slowly start to see the joy, the pleasure in doing good. Right, so this is creating this positive karma. Right, so that's a third kind of repayment. And the fourth one, rouses one's foolish mother and father, settles and establishes them in discernment. So the fourth one is more like growing in wisdom. So let's say one's parents are not interested in any spiritual teachings, not interested in the Dhamma, and you kind of say some inspiring quotes and make them think about it, and they're like, oh, get interested. Yeah? So it kind of make them think about it, make them ponder, make them investigate, make them grow in wisdom. Right? So that's the four ways of repaying one's parents. To this extent, one pays and repays one's mother and father. Right, so there are two suttas on this Kathanu suttas, on this gratitude. So this how one repays one's parents. All right, any questions at this moment? If not, I move on. Okay, next. Okay, so these are the physical or the external kind of obligations. Right, so a child should administer to the parents. So the ease and the direction is about this sutta, this Sigalovada sutta. So there's this person, Sigala or Sigalovada, his father just passed away, and he was like outside his house making offerings and bowing to different directions. So the Buddha happened to pass by and asked this young man, what are you doing? Why are you bowing in different directions? Then this man told the Buddha that his late father instructed him to do so, but he doesn't know the meaning. What's the significance? So the Buddha, out of compassion, told him, what is the meaning of paying respects to the different directions. Give some value addedness to that ritual. Right? So the Buddha talks about the different directions and different interpersonal kind of relations. So in a way, it's being gratitude to the different kinds of people around us. So if let's say your role is a child, then this is how a child should show their gratitude to their parents. So it's a physical kind of obligation. So this is the minimum. So if let's say you cannot do the spiritual part, you're unable to inspire your parents to do good, or have them grow in wisdom, or whatever it is, then minimum you need to take care of their physical well-being. Okay, so just read out. In 5 ways, young householder, a child should minister to his parents as the East. Having supported me, I shall support them. Right, so you take care of the parents. The second one, I should do their duties. Right, so help them to do their chores or whatever duties, and assist them. Third, I shall keep the family tradition. So if they have certain family, maybe business or family tradition, if possible, they try to help out. Then the fourth one, I shall make myself worthy of my inheritance. Right, so one should be reliable, so that the parents think that, okay, this is the correct person or correct time. Right, and the fifth one, furthermore, I shall offer alms in honor of my departed relatives. Right, so so this is the interesting point. Offer alms in honor, not offer alms to the departed relatives. So the Buddhist point of view is, you offer alms, can be to anybody, any charity organization, any contemplative Buddhist Sangha, and then you do it in honor of the departed relatives. Right? So these are the 5 kind of duties for the child. And the next one. So in return, this is how the parents should treat the child. In 5 ways, young householder, the parents thus ministered to as the east by the children should show their compassion. So the first one, they restrain them from evil. Second, they encourage them to do good. Right, so basically the first two talks about moral upbringing. So the moral behavior, I think, starts from home. The child may not understand philosophically or intellectually from young, but they learn from observation. So whatever behavior you display, whatever emotion you generate, they will just pick up. Right, so it's like the child will just follow what the parents are doing. So morality starts from home. Okay, and the third one, they train them for a profession. Right, so probably in most city life, the parents will just provide them with the education. And the fourth one, they arrange a suitable marriage. So that was 2,500 years ago. So the parents will arrange the marriage. And the fifth one, at a proper time, they hand over their inheritance to the child. Right, so these are the 5 kind of obligation from the parents. So I believe most of you here are parents. Anything to comment or feedback? Any issues with these statements, or you totally agree? No issues, huh? Okay.
So, Bante, how about parents whereby they don't really take care of their children? Because I've seen many cases whereby children are being neglected by parents. So, yeah, they will either, probably leave the children with some relatives, and then they remarried and have their own life and don't even bother to see the child.
Yeah, this is a very good question, because our life, or this world, a lot of gray sort of moral areas. Yeah, so this is very true. Lots of social issues out there. So generally, if let's say the child is neglected by the parents, I think naturally the child won't have much affection, as much affection to the parents as the other caregivers. Yeah, the caregiver, they would have more affection. So I think it's a bit hard for them to sort of play their role if their parents are not around most of the time in their life. Then they do not know what is their actual biological parents' tradition, how to look after them. They're not around how to look after them. So so it's a bit hard for the child to look after their biological parents. So the only thing they can do is towards their caregivers. Right? So so if let's say that biological parents return, then it's a bit hard for them to gain the kind of affection from their child already. So I think a lot has to do with, in a way, I would say karma. There's a kind of like, I would say mini kind of investment. Yeah, so I think there's no shortcut to all this. It takes time to build relations. It's not like I give birth to you, then naturally you are bound or contracted to me, right? So I think there's a lot of emotional investment involved. Yeah. Okay, then if no issues, then we move to the next one. So the next one is on teacher and student. So this gratitude of this pupil and the student. So this for the student. In 5 ways, young householder, a pupil should minister to a teacher as the south. By rising from the seat in salutation, that means greeting the teacher. By attending to him or her. So nowadays, in the modern society, teachers have different genders also. So in the past, it's just usually 2,500 years ago, most of them are just male teachers. So by attending the teacher. Then the third one, by eagerness to learn. You need to show interest. The fourth one, by personal service. Right, help the teachers to carry the books, right, and stuff like that. The fifth one, by respectful attention while receiving instructions. Right, so it's not just eager to learn. A person also needs to know when to be attentive and maybe be quiet while the teacher is talking. So these are the 5 kind of qualities, 5 kind of obligations of the pupil. Okay, next one. Okay, then the teacher. In 5 ways, young householder to teachers thus ministered to as a south by their pupils show their compassion. Okay, they train them in the best discipline. They see that they grasp their lessons well. They instruct them in the arts and sciences. They introduce them to their friends and associates. So nowadays the teachers may not do number 4. So 2,500 years ago, the education system a bit different. So we can get a hint from the story of this Angulimala. So last time the student will have to stay with the teachers. That means it's like really like childcare, so they probably maybe never get to go home, so they stay with the teacher for a while. Maybe once in a while they book out and go back home. But most of the time they stay with the teacher. It's a bit like a boot camp or like an educational camp until the studies are over. Right, so the teacher will have to teach the students like everything in life, the life skills, social skills, the arts and sciences, all the subjects. So can be very stressful. So nowadays the teachers just teach just the subjects. But I think Singapore education also very stressful and teach multiple things. Some teachers even have to do counseling and stuff like that. Then the 5th one, they provide for their safety in every quarter. So teachers also have to look after the safety of the child, the safety of the student. So lots of things to look after. Okay, next. In 5 ways, young householders should a wife as the West be ministered to by a husband. So this is for husband to wife, by being courteous to her, by not despising her, by being faithful to her. So I think all these are like marriage vows. By handing over authority to her, by providing her with adornments. So last time in the so-called male-dominated society, right, if the men were to run everything, then sometimes the household can be quite chaotic. So I think as like a partnership, sometimes it's good to discuss which department of the household or whatever should be run by the wife, right? So that is splitting or assigning tasks, handing over certain authority to the wife, letting her in charge of certain aspects of the family. And last one, right, providing her with adornments. So I'm not sure about now, but in the past, maybe it's like a gentleman thing to do, to buy gifts to the lady, right? And next. So this is for the wife. The wife thus ministered to as the West by her husband shows her compassion to her husband in 5 ways. First one, she performs her duties well. She is hospitable to relations and attendants. Right, so maybe in the past, ancient days, maybe the wife is in the career kind of lady, probably in the house, a housewife, house lady. So probably she have to serve the drinks to guests. So going to be hospitable to the guests, relations and attendants. She is faithful. She protects what he brings. So maybe in the past, the men are the one, usually are the gamblers and the drunkards. So the wife probably is the best person to protect the wealth of the family. And the fifth one, she is skilled and industrious in discharging her duties. Right, so these are the 5 ways the wife show sort of gratitude to the husband. Yeah, because down here mostly ladies. Any comments? Any feedback? No issues, so far okay. Alright, next. In 5 ways, a young householder should a cleansed man minister to his friends and associates as the north. So this is got to do with how to be grateful to your friends, how to treat your friends. So the first one, by liberality. So there's no contract or no controlling of the friends. So they have the liberty to go as they please. Second, by courteous speech. Right, so very, normal to be polite to anybody. Third one, be helpful, being helpful. Fourth one, being impartial. Yeah, so this is a bit hard, impartial. So sometimes talk about siding your friends. So, but in the scripture talks about being impartial. So this one talks about choosing the right moral action, right moral decision over biasness, over friendship sometimes. Right, and the fifth one, by sincerity. By sincerity, so a person have to be sincere. Okay, next one. And the friend should treat one as such. They protect him when he is heedless. They protect his property when he is heedless. Protect you, protect your property. They become a refuge when he is in danger. Right, so they give you shelter when you're in trouble. They do not forsake him in his troubles. So they will help you when you're in trouble. They show consideration for his family. So they are considerate towards your family. They don't bring inconvenience to your families. Okay, so these are the 5 ways to sort of determine a good friend. All right, next. In 5 ways should a master minister to his servants and employees as the nadir. So this is for, if let's say you're a boss. How many of you are bosses here? Who have servants under you? Who have employees under you? Nobody. Okay, so you just here only. By assigning them work according to their ability, by supplying them with food and with wages, by tending them in sickness, by sharing with them any delicacies, by granting them leave at times. So it's not just leadership skills, but also people welfare. So these are some of the qualities of like a good leader. Okay, next. So this for employees. The servants and employees thus ministered to as the nadir by their master show their compassion to them in 5 ways. They rise before him, they go to sleep after him, they take only what is given, they perform their duties well, they uphold his good name and fame. Right, so this is for servants who stay with the employer. So nowadays, if you don't stay in the company, you need to go back home. It's like a 9 to 5 job. So I think it's I think, courtesy or polite not to knock off work before your boss. Like let's say your boss is a workaholic, then it may be a bit problematic, right? And the next one, perform your duties well, and do not take things from the company. So nowadays we have work from home. So work from home is brings a different ball game to the table. Any comments from workers here? No, don't have. Okay, so I think we exceeded the time, so I think we shall stop here for a while. Open the floor to Q&A. So far, the Sigala Sutta pretty straightforward. Anyone wants to give any feedback or ask any questions, scenarios? Any?
Why is there all the different just now that we have explained? Why is there a direction every time?
Oh, the direction. Okay, so it's meant for this Sigala to understand what's his ritual. Because he is bowing and giving offerings to different directions without knowing the significance.
Thank you, Bhante.
Okay, all right. Anyone else? Okay, if not, we go for a 5-minute break and we'll see you back in 5 minutes time for the guided meditation.
Bhante, I find the children these days are really difficult to teach. They don't follow written down there.
Okay. Yeah.
Even they greet the teachers, it's like, you have to, they don't even bother to stand up to greet these days.
Oh.
It's so different. Yeah.
Which level you're teaching?
Primary school?
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. Age 7 to 12. Yeah. Totally very different than these children. And it's getting harder and harder to teach them compared to when I first started teaching to now. Wow. Very challenging.
Yeah, I would think that most children nowadays may not have a lot of quality time with their parents. Yeah, if let's say both parents are busy working, then they have nobody to guide them or learn. They don't have those qualities from the parents to learn from.
That's why lately have a discipline case whereby the parents, the dad actually expected the teacher to have to put a more severe consequence on the child. The reason given was because they don't have time to teach the son. I mean, there's a limit to what we teachers can do, right? I mean,
correct.
Spending time and then teaching them, all this should be done at home.
Yep. So it's like the parents want to push their role to the teachers.
If it's so busy in the first place, why did you even bother to have a child, right?
Yeah, so that's why the Singapore's fertility rate is dropping 1% or something. I don't know, one child. Yeah, one child. Yeah, one child per family. Okay, anyone wants to add anything? Okay, if not, then we can start. Yeah. So we're going to mute the mics. So today's theme is on gratitude. And gratitude is very synonymous with appreciative joy, appreciation. So you're grateful. So we are doing more or less the same routine, but instead of loving kindness, we switch to being grateful. Okay, and we start off with a bit of this visualization, impurities of the body, meditation, and we think of the hairs of the head, hairs of the body, and we appreciate, we have gratitude towards all the hairs. Every time you think of one patch of hair, then you thank them, thank all the hairs. Thank the hairs for providing color, some warmth. Don't have to over imagine anything, just think of the hairs and then thank them. New patch of hair, thank you. New patch of hair, thank you. So if we generate what is called the right thought, it should reduce craving and should have this similar reduction craving phenomenon. So the mind should also settle down to a baseline level. And now we're going to add some insight, some wisdom, and we're going to reflect on impermanence. So all these hairs go through birth, aging, sickness, and passing away. So you think of them growing and falling, many, many cycles. And as we keep looping this process, we can also observe the arising and passing of the 5 aggregates. So the hairs have form, and the 4 elements. When you generate a thought, what are the sensations that travel to that thought? Is there a direction? Is there a location? So it's subjective to an individual. And is there feelings when you think of that image? You like the color, you don't like the color, you like the shape, the size. When you think of an old hair, what kind of feeling? A young hair, what kind of feeling? And 3rd aggregate, perception. All the names and terms you learned before in the past, all the shapes and colors, all these are part of perception. Every time you try to name what kind of object is that, what kind of shape is that, that is perception. And the 4th aggregate is mental formation. Every time a new image is formed, that is new mental formation. And lastly, you have this consciousness, basically your attention. When you're aware of that image, you're using the mind or consciousness. If you're hearing my sound, you're using your ear consciousness. So it's that So is that consciousness always remaining the same? Is it always at the same location? Is it always the same intensity? So you don't have to multitask, you just keep looping this image, right? Birth and death, and whatever aggregate you can investigate, then you just investigate one at a time. If you want to multitask, a few at a time or 5 at a time, by all means. And we can ask ourselves, are these hairs truly self? Can we tell the hairs not to go through this birth and death? So next we can think of the nails, fingernails and toenails, and we thank them. We think of the nails, then we thank them. And if you find your mind relatively calm, then you can reflect on impermanence. So all these nails go through birth, aging, sickness, and death. So they keep growing and falling, many, many cycles. And as we keep looping this process, we can observe the arising and passing of the 5 aggregates. Then we can ask ourselves, are these nails truly self? Can we tell the nails not to go through birth and death? And next we can think of the teeth, all the teeth inside the mouth, and we thank all the teeth. And all these teeth are subject to birth, aging, sickness, and passing away. So you think of them growing and falling, many cycles. And as we keep looping this process, we can also observe the arising and passing of the 5 aggregates. And we can ask ourselves, are these teeth truly self? Can we tell the teeth not to go through birth and death? So next we can think of the skin from head to toe. Then we show gratitude by thanking all the skin. the skin are subject to birth, aging, sickness, and passing away. So you think of them growing and falling, many, many cycles. And as we keep looping this process, we can also observe the arising and passing of the 5 aggregates. Then we can ask ourselves, are the skin truly self? Can we tell the skin not to go through this birth and death? And the next part of the meditation, we are moving to the sublime states, and we start off with this appreciative joy, appreciation, but we start off with this perimeter and within the confines of the body. So whatever sensation that you may detect arise, then we thank them. Show appreciation to all these sensations. And these sensations are called the 4 elements. Yes, a general category. Earth element represents any hard or soft sensations. Fire element represents any hot and cold sensations. Wind element represents any kind of movement. And water element represents any kind of moist or dry sensations. So whatever sensation arises, there's no need to crack your brain and figure out which element they are. Just thank them and be grateful. Rejoice in their appearance. So new sensation arise, then we thank them. New sensation arise, we thank them. Thankful for the nervous system, right, to be able to detect. Thankful for our sense doors to be able to function. thankful to be able to perceive all these dharmas. So a similar phenomenon, the more we generate this right thought, craving reduced, and the mind should settle down again to this baseline emotion. And we're going to take note of this restricted form of this appreciation. And now we are going to cultivate this boundless appreciative joy, and we're going to rejoice with all beings above, below, and all across all directions. There's no need to push the mind, we just make a gentle wish and let the mind extend naturally by itself. However far you wish to extend doesn't matter. Once there's an increment of this area of attention, we are using this non-discriminative kind of reflection to all beings, extending to all beings. So all beings, regardless of winners or losers, when they go through that experience, this process, they'll gain a new experience. Likewise, whenever we detect any sensation, then we rejoice with all beings. We also gain a new experience, we appreciate and we rejoice with all beings. whole idea is not to go into any kind of dramatization, no storytelling. Every time new sensation appears, then we rejoice with all beings. Okay, all the conditions fall in place. You have the right thought, the right effort and everything, then it will trigger this right concentration. So if there is this concentration from this appreciative joy, one will experience the emotion of happiness from the third level of concentration. So the practice of gratitude, appreciation will lead to this emotion of happiness. And regardless of what you experience, keep rejoicing with all beings. Okay, and now we are going to add some insight, some wisdom, and we're going to reflect all beings will eventually be separated from what they have achieved, and all these sensations, they do not stay with us 24/7. Yeah, we are grateful for them, but we also need to reflect on impermanence to prevent clinging and attachment. You're grateful that the things you have is good, but if you hold on to them, then you're creating suffering. So you need to observe arising and passing every moment. If that joy and happiness start to disappear, then one may experience a sense of fullness, or as though the sense of self has merged with the entire surroundings. And we call this the perception of infinite consciousness. Some call it universal oneness. And regardless of what you experience, keep on reflecting on impermanence. And we also, now we switch to this loving kindness, friendliness and loving kindness, and we are going to wish all beings well and happy. So the same thing, the non-discriminative approach, all beings, we treat them as the elements, the sensations, the five aggregates. No need to over imagine their shape and form, their race, their species. No need, Just treat everyone as the elements and the aggregates. And when a new sensation appears, we wish all beings well and happy. New sensation appear, may all beings be well and happy. Okay, and if all the conditions are right, you have all the right thought, right effort, then one may trigger this first level of concentration. It's a combination of both joy and happiness. And regardless of what you experience, keep on wishing all beings well and happy. Okay, now we add some insight. We are going to reflect how to cultivate this more unconditional loving kindness. That is to shake off this attachment by reflecting on impermanence. So all the sensations, observe how they arise and pass away. If the joy and happiness start to disappear, the combination of this loving kindness and impermanence may lead one to experience this equanimity of the fourth level of concentration. So it's a neutral and refreshing kind of experience. And regardless of what you experience, keep on reflecting on impermanence. Okay, and before we conclude this session, same gentle reminder: in all our activities, be it standing, sitting, walking, or lying down, as long as we maintain this boundless, sublime state, or mindful of impermanence, then this is the noblest living. And with that, we can gently open our eyes, formally end the session. Informally still can generate right thought. Okay, anyone has any problems or questions? All okay, eh? So today we jump sequence a bit. Probably give some new perspective. The mind is not one-dimensional. Okay, then we can move to the dedication if there's no issues. Okay, Anumodana, dedicating merits. Akasatha ca bhumata devanaga mahitika punyang tang anumoditva chirang rakantu loka sasanang etavata ca amhehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe deva sabbe bhuta sabbe satta anumodantu Sabha sampati siddhya. Dedication of marriage to departed. Idang minyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Idang minyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Idang minyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Aspiration. Imina punya kamena mame bala samagamo satang samagamo hotu yavanibbana patiha. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And we end off by paying respects to the Buddha, bowing 3 times. First bow, second bow, third bow. Okay, and that's it. Any announcements from Terence? No. Then I think next week is the first week of the month, so there won't be live stream lesson. It's more of Q&A, and we'll continue the gratitude thing again on the 10th of October.